Hi all, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So we're back to normal with our hour in a sketchbook study, this time focusing on doing some galaxies, which is going to be a study for a piece that I plan on doing in the future. Now, as usual, I have sectioned off my page into 4 areas using washi tape, and I have done, similar to other pieces that I've done in the past with these videos, done a wash of water before going in with my Reeves gouache, very loose, very watered down, just trying to do a pooling technique so all the colours when they dry should be melded together quite nicely. Now I do wish I'd used my Winsor & Newtons with this because one, I wanted some pinks and my Reeves gouache doesn't really have any pinks. It has a magenta, which is a nice colour as you can see here, but it's very red. It hasn't got that more pink quality that I was really looking for, which is a bit unfortunate. Oh, sorry about this. Took me a little while to sort out where I was going on the page. And I also feel like with the Reeves, I had to use several washes and it took a lot longer. So as you can see, I've done 1 layer of gouache, and I'm kind of doing it on each segment slowly because I've had to wait for that layer to dry before being able to add and develop the colours a bit more. I feel like I wouldn't have had to use as many layers as I end up using if I'd used my Winsor & Newtons, just because they're so much more pigmented and vibrant, and I wouldn't have struggled with trying to get the colours that I really wanted to do. So honestly, this reminded me so much of doing the cloud study, and if you've seen that video, you'd know how frustrated I got with trying to create the clouds, and you're going to see a lot of it in this video where I'm constantly going back and trying to tweak areas and things like this. Now, partly yes, due to the pigmentation, because it would water down and it would dry nowhere near how I'd wanted it to, but the other side of that is, in all honesty, creating a galaxy I thought would be a lot easier. But similar to clouds, it's got that softer texture. You don't want any hard lines or things like that in the work. You want this soft, flowy appearance to it to make it seem more natural, and I was really struggling to do that. I even used references. Yes, I did deviate away from them as per normal, but I was using them to try and get that right consistency and feel, but I just found it very difficult. Now, I have actually done galaxies before, but I've done them using acrylic, and honestly, I have to say, using acrylic was a bit easier than trying to use the gouache. And after this, I actually went into a little sketchbook that I've got that I don't really show anywhere, and did some galaxy studies in there and used acrylic, and it was just so much easier, mainly because I was using acrylic paint. So I put down 1 standard colour of acrylic paint, and then I would go in with a piece of tissue paper and dot acrylic paint onto that, and then use that to dot around, and that would just create that kind of starry night effect, and with all the different colours and stuff, it definitely looked more like a galaxy. Now with the gouache, I couldn't really do that, so this was quite a bit of a challenge for me, because I thought, honestly, I've done this before, it's going to be nice and easy, but I found it a lot harder, and it ended up taking me a lot longer and building up these layers. End result, I'm actually quite pleased. In all honesty, it was harder than what I thought it would be, but I'm pleased that I did try it with the gouache, because gouache is a medium that I love, and I plan on using these as a background for a piece that I'm working on, one of my dreamscapes, and I want to do it in gouache, mainly because honestly, creating portraits in gouache is so much easier than acrylic for me. So I don't want to be doing it with an acrylic background and then a gouache face, because it won't seem smooth. It will seem like the face has almost been copy and pasted on, which I don't want that effect. So yes, it took me a while to get the hang of it, but once I realised, okay, I've got to do this in lots of little layers, similar to the clouds, it then made the process easier, because I changed the way I was approaching this. So I stopped trying to treat it as more of a acrylic where I should just be able to dab the paint on and it work, and I started doing watery layers, building them up slowly and going from there. Now this piece with the planet was originally going to be the only one with a planet in, because I wasn't sure if I wanted a planet in the finalised version that I'm going to be doing, and I decided to do it in this kind of half there effect, so part of it kind of fading into the mist of the galaxy and then more of it defined. But as you'll see in a moment, I find that there's just something missing in all of these backgrounds, and I do try and add in more effects. I have to say, I do actually love the colours of the one that we're working on right now. I just found them really nice. They're just lovely pastel effects. It just goes with how I am. So as you can see, all 4 of these are all completely different colours and trying to do different things to the background. But anyway, as we go, so as you can see here, I'm adding in, like, trying to do like the star effects with the yellows and whites and things like that, but it just, after leaving it and moving on to the next one and trying to do the same there, I just found that overall I wasn't getting the effect I wanted. It didn't look like a galaxy. It was feeling more like just an abstract piece of just paint there rather than actually being a galaxy feel. And that was kind of disappointing, because I really wanted to be able to look at this and for people to go, yes, those are galaxies. And I think we can all say right now, apart from the one with the planet, that is just not happening. So I do eventually, when I stop fiddling around with all these little bits, so I am using paint straight out the tube to create these stars, by the way, because as I've said previously, Reeves gouache is so transparent, it's unreal. So you do need to, if you're trying to do purer dots of colour like I'm trying to do here, you have to use the paint straight out the tube for this, because otherwise it just doesn't work. The rest of it was all watered down, which is fine. But yeah, as you can see here, I'm adding in that extra planet just because I felt like it needed something. It just wasn't meshing with how it was supposed to look with having nothing there. And I end up doing the same with the top left, which is here, when I realise that I'm not in camera view. But yeah, so I try and focus on it here. Sorry, the camera keeps going in and out of focus. For some reason, sometimes it just wants to focus on my hand rather than what I'm painting, which is a bit frustrating. But yeah, even for this one, I just felt like it needed that extra. The only one that doesn't have a planet is actually the top right. And I kind of feel like, for me, I enjoyed the way that looked more. So now we come to the part where I try and take my washi tape off. And it's the first time, people, we did not rip the paper. I don't know what I did differently. I just know it worked. First time ever. Anyway, this was really rambly and I'm sorry about that. I really should try and be a bit more focused with these talks, but that's just not who I am. I hope you enjoyed it. Please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll catch you in next week's video.